The year 2026 did not begin with a whimper, but with the roar of hypersonic engines tearing through the silent dawn of the Persian Gulf. In the Situation Rooms of Washington and Tel Aviv, the digital maps glowed with the successful suppression of Iranian air defenses. It looked, on paper, like the most surgical, most overwhelming display of military might in the history of human warfare. Operation Roaring Lion was supposed to be the end of a 40-year headache. It was supposed to be the final chapter of the Islamic Republic. But as the smoke cleared over the enrichment tunnels of Fordo and the charred remains of IRGC command centers, a terrifying paradox began to emerge. The missiles hit their targets with 100% accuracy, yet the victory felt hollow. In the high-stakes theater of global geopolitics, we are often blinded by tactical brilliance, failing to see the strategic abyss opening beneath our feet. Welcome to Macro History. Today, we peel back the curtain on the most complex conflict of our era. We are not here to talk about who has the better fighter jets or more advanced satellites. We are here to talk about the terrifying reality of the escalation trap. We are here to answer the question that no one in the Pentagon wants to face. In a war where you destroy everything but control nothing, who is actually winning? To understand the current carnage, we must first dismantle the greatest myth of modern warfare. The idea that a decapitation strike can kill a revolutionary state. For decades, Western military doctrine has been obsessed with the head of the snake. The theory is simple: kill the leaders, destroy the command and control, and the body will wither. But Iran is not a traditional state. It is a decentralized ideological franchise. When the first wave of strikes hit Tehran in early 2026, the world expected a collapse. Instead, we witnessed the activation of a ghost bureaucracy. For 40 years, the Iranian leadership has prepared for this exact moment of total isolation. They built a world beneath the earth, a labyrinth of reinforced concrete and fiber optics that defies the logic of satellite surveillance, while the West was celebrating the destruction of visible silos. The invisible IRGC was already transitioning to its secondary phase. The horizontal escalation. This is where the math of war begins to fail the superpowers. A Tomahawk missile costs approximately $2 million. A specialized Iranian suicide drone, built with off-the-shelf components and smuggled microchips, costs less than $20,000. In the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz, the ratio of cost to destruction is not just skewed, it is terminal for the global economy. As we speak, the cost of insuring a single oil tanker has surpassed the value of the cargo itself. The win on the battlefield is being liquidated by the loss on the balance sheet. To understand why the conventional rules of war seem to be breaking down in the 2026 Iran conflict, we need to talk about something called the Hydra effect. You know, the mythical creature where you chop off one head and to grow back. In the first 72 hours of the conflict, coalition forces hit hard. They took out 90% of Iran's static radar and fixed missile sites. In any war fought in the 20th century, that would have been a knockout blow. Game over. But what the West found in 2026 wasn't a solid wall they could break. It was more like trying to punch water. The command structure of Iran's forces, particularly the IRGC, is designed to be shattered. Think of it like a network of independent cells. Each regional unit operates with what they call autonomous intent. This means you need to wait for a phone call from Tehran to carry out their part of the plan. This is a strategy known as horizontal escalation, and we're seeing it in its purest form. While the main show seems to be on the Iranian plateau, the real war, the one that's shaking the world, is happening 3,000 kilometers away. In the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the Red Sea, and even the Mediterranean, Iran's allies, the axis of resistance, have effectively taken the entire global supply chain hostage. This was the strategic masterstroke that Western war planners completely underestimated. You see, Iran doesn't need to sink an American aircraft carrier in a head-to-head battle. It just needs to make it too expensive and too dangerous for commercial ships to pass through these vital waterways. When the insurance premiums for cargo ships skyrocketed by 400% in a single week, Iran's leadership scored a massive strategic victory. And that's a win that no amount of bombing can ever undo. This leads us to a really uncomfortable truth about this conflict: the total failure of the so-called sanctioned fortress. For years, the common belief in the West was that Iran's economy was a brittle house of cards, ready to collapse under a full blockade. But the reality is that 40 years of isolation forced them to adapt. They built what they call a resistance economy, one that's surprisingly disconnected from the Western financial system. Tehran spent decades creating a dark fleet, a phantom armada of oil tankers, operating through a maze of shell companies and offshore transfers. They move oil to energy-hungry markets in the East, completely bypassing Western controls. So, while Washington was trying to freeze Iran out of the world, Iran was busy building a new world of its own. They've also played a brilliant long game with their middle corridor strategy. Through quiet deals with Moscow and Beijing, Tehran has made itself an essential land bridge connecting Europe and Asia. Even with bombs falling, the rail lines linking Russia to the Persian Gulf have kept running, protected by the unspoken threat of a much wider war if they were touched. It feels like the West is playing checkers, focusing on taking individual pieces off the board, while the East is playing Go, slowly and methodically surrounding the entire map. Now, don't get me wrong, the tactical victories of the coalition are impressive, the precision of their strikes is terrifying, and the technological gap is huge. But in the grand sweep of history, technology is often a poor substitute for geography. Iran's landscape is a natural fortress of jagged mountains and vast salt deserts. It's a defender's dream, and it cancels out many of the advantages of modern mechanized armies. To truly win, in the traditional sense, would require a boots-on-the-ground occupation of a country larger than France, Germany, and the UK combined. A country with 85 million people who have been taught for generations to see such an invasion as an existential holy war. The Pentagon knows this, the White House knows this, and critically, Tehran knows this. They are baiting a trap. Every missile that hits a civilian building or a cultural site isn't just collateral damage, it's fuel. It's feeding a massive nationalist resurgence, what's known as the rally around the flag effect, but on a civilizational scale. The internal protests and dissent that once posed a real threat to the regime have all but disappeared. They've been replaced by a grim, unified determination to survive what they now see as a Western crusade. As we move into the second month of the conflict, the lens of macro history reveals a shift in the global tectonic plates that goes far beyond the borders of Iran. To understand who is winning, we must look at who is not fighting. While Western treasuries are drained by the staggering cost of munitions and the mobilization of naval assets, the Eurasian giants China and Russia are observing from the sidelines, reaping the strategic dividends of a weakened West. For Beijing, the Iran war is the ultimate stress test for the American-led order. Every day that the Strait of Hormuz remains a no-go zone for Western shipping, the petroleum gains ground. We are witnessing the birth of a bifurcated global economy, where one half operates on the old rules of maritime dominance and the other moves toward a land-based, dollarized infrastructure. The military integration between Moscow and Tehran has also reached a point of no return. In exchange for drone technology and tactical depth, Russia has provided Iran with advanced S-400 systems and electronic warfare suites that have turned the Iranian sky into a denial zone for all but the most advanced stealth platforms. This is no longer a war against a rogue state. It is a war against a node in a global counter-alliance. In the final analysis, who is winning the Iran war? Is the wrong question. The right question is, what kind of world is being born in the ruins? The West is winning the kinetic war. The destruction of Iran's conventional military assets is nearly total, but in the 21st century, kinetic victory is a ghost. By destroying the centralized state of Iran, the coalition is inadvertently creating a permanent, borderless insurgency that will haunt the Middle East for the next century. They have traded a predictable enemy for 1,000 unpredictable ones. Iran is winning the strategic war of attrition. By simply existing, by refusing to collapse, and by forcing the global economy into a state of permanent volatility. They have demonstrated the limits of superpower intervention. They have proven that a nation with enough ideological cohesion and geographical depth can survive the godlike precision of modern weaponry. This is the transition from a unipolar world to a fragmented world. The Iran War of 2026 will be remembered by history as the moment the American century finally ran out of breath in the deserts of the East. It is the end of the illusion that total dominion can be achieved through technology alone. As we look at the glowing maps of the Persian Gulf, we must remember the lesson of the Roman Empire in the East. They made a desert and called it peace. But a desert cannot be governed. A desert cannot be sold, and a desert eventually swallows those who try to conquer it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the cycles of history. If you found this analysis insightful, consider subscribing to Macro History. We don't just report the news, we analyze the forces that shape our future. What do you think? Is the age of the superpower over, or is this just another painful transition? Let us know in the comments below. Stay curious, stay grounded.